Hello and welcome to exfidebibles. My name is Ethan. So today I wanted to talk about my Kingsley hot foil stamping machine, hot foil stamping in general, and kind of an explanation on why a lot of Bible rebinders who are very serious about making Bible covers opt for a more vintage machine like a Kingsley over some newer machines like maybe a newer Howard personalizer or a Dream Factory machine or something along those lines. So for those that don't know, hot foil stamping is the process of using a machine like this to imprint metallic foil onto leather. So this is when I say hot foil stamping, this is really what I mean. Holy Bible translation and any type of branding that you see here on a cover. That is done with a machine like my Kingsley here. So also when you see Bibles that aren't printed with metallic foil and they're just printed with an impression, that's called blind stamping. That is done with my machine here as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my Kingsley stamping machine here. And really this is mainly geared towards Bible rebinders, people who are interested in getting into this hobby or this trade. But if you're interested in just the craft of Bible making in general, but not interested in getting into, getting into the trade, then this might interest you as well. So this is my Kingsley hot foil stamping machine here. As far as I know, the model of this machine is M50, an M50, M-50. So as far as I know, there are two models of the M50 Kingsley hot foil stamping machine. There is a 2-line variant and a 1-line variant. So this is a 2-line variant. And you can tell by the width of the type holder here. So if you are really knowledgeable about hot foil stamping machines, you'll know that this isn't actually a type holder. This is an adapter. So we'll kind of get into that as well and talk about why I choose the type of imprint process, stamp process that I use. So I don't use typefaces that were made for my machine. I use a series of adapters, which I'll get into. I use a series of adapters to enable me to stamp spines very inexpensively. So I'll talk a little bit about why I wanted a Kingsley machine and how I was able to acquire this machine. So I got this machine off of eBay for a very good price. I got it last year, I think in July or August. I ended up spending about $150 on it shipped. So that's all said and done what I paid for it. It wasn't listed in working condition when I purchased it, but I was able to talk back and forth with the seller in the eBay direct message system. I was able to get him to test it for me before I purchased it. I convinced him to plug it in for just 5 minutes and just make sure that the heating element would heat up just enough. And I said, all you need to do is I'll buy it. You give me my word. I'll give you my word. I'll buy it. Just plug it in, and if it gets warm, unplug it. I'll buy it. So he was nice enough to do that for me. So it did start heating up. So I bought it. So unfortunately for me, I did have to. I started talking with I believe the man's name is Jim Green. He has an Etsy store and a Instagram page. His Instagram handle is called Kingsley Hot Stamper. I ended up talking back and forth with him and sending him some pictures of my new machine. He was the one who was able to identify the model number for me. And he said that I should replace the heating element even though it hadn't gone bad yet. So I went back and forth on using it to, using the machine until it broke. And I decided to go ahead and buy the parts to repair it to fully working, pristine condition. So I ended up replacing the heating element myself, as well as replacing the power cord here. So I was able to do that in an afternoon, all with really basic tools. It did require some soldering, but I was able to do it. I'm not an electrical engineer or anything like that, but I was able to figure it out with the instructions and the diagram that he sent me. So now it works great. I'm really happy with my Kingsley. I have no future plans at all. No matter how many Bibles I start, pumping out per month, I don't have any plans of upgrading this machine. It is really a fantastic machine. So I'll go ahead and start to explain a few of the things that differentiate a machine like this from the more expensive machines the cheaper machines that you might see on Amazon. So there's a number of companies that manufacture hot foil stamping machines in China. A couple of the brand names that you might recognize are Zone Sun and Zone Pack. So I used a Zone Pack, really cheap. I ended up getting it for like $150, which is inexpensive. I ended up getting it new, and I ended up using that on about 4 or 5 Bibles, and I liked it. It worked well for me, but I saw the deal on this machine, and I went ahead and purchased it because I thought it would be a good investment into this little trade that I have, and I'm glad I did. I'm really happy with this machine. So a couple of the things that differentiate this machine from a Zone Pack or a Zone Sun machine is, first and foremost, it has an analog temperature control, which is right here. So excuse my pronunciation, but this is called a rheostat, which essentially, so if you take this cage off, I've taken this cage off because I needed to replace the heating element and solder some of the heating element wires onto the device underneath this cage. But what this does is it essentially uses a wrap of copper wire to bleed off the heat from the heating element. So when you turn this knob, when you turn it to high, obviously it's not going to bleed off any heat. But when you turn it to, when you turn it to your setting, it will bleed off heat at a expected rate. And this will get warm. If you leave your machine on for a long time. It will even get hot to the touch, but that means that it's functioning properly. So it essentially, just with an analog system, bleeds off the heat. So with a Zone Sun machine, and I think newer Dream Factory stamping machines, they use a digital controller, but that's a main difference between this machine, older Kingsleys, and even older Howard stamping machines as well. They use an analog system for bleeding off the heat when you need to turn your machine down. So I normally keep my machine, when I'm stamping covers, I normally keep it about like a little under a 7. And you can see here, this little dial right here is the temperature gauge. So the ideal stamping temperature that I use is about 250 is what I start at. Some leathers require some higher temperatures, like a leather I used recently, Missouri, from La Perla Azura. It required a higher temperature, but anyway, so yeah, that's one of the main differences between a Kingsley, a vintage machine, and a newer machine. So another big difference between this machine and my Zone Pack is kind of two things here. So you can tell by the construction of this machine that it is a single piece of cast iron here. So this is a singular piece right here. And what that does for you as a user is it guarantees that your stamping face, which attaches underneath here, so your stamp will go on here. You'll slide your adapter or your I think it's called a letter set holder or something along those lines. You'll slide it in here, and then this under here will be the surface where you actuate the lever and stamp down. So this being made of a cast iron singular piece means that you can be assured that your stamping surface and your base plate are perfectly parallel to each other. So if there's any type of wobble or lean or any lack of levelness in your stamp, that will give you a bad impression into your leather. So that's one of the things that I love about this machine, is that I got it, I started using it, and it was level, and it's been level for 10 Bibles. I didn't have to do any kind of re-leveling or anything along those lines. With a zone pack machine, you do have to worry about leveling, which was a huge pain for me. I was able to get my machine leveled no problem, but you do have to worry about leveling, which was a pain. So two other things that I really like about this machine compared to my zone pack is, sorry, I'm trying to navigate around here, is this little arm right here. So what this does is it enables me to clamp my project down to the base plate. So let's pretend for a second that this cutting board is my cover. So what this little arm allows me to do is I'll lift this up, let it drop down, and when I'm actually stamping a cover, obviously I need to make sure that it's perfectly positioned and centered and all of that. I'll do that while this little arm right here is loose. And when I know that I have it in the right position, I will put pressure on this little handle up here and really screw down this little knob. And what that enables me to do is keep my project from sliding around. So if you've ever watched someone stamp before, you'll know that the stamping process involves multiple hits of foil over top each other. You don't want to only have one layer of foil. You usually want to have 4 to 6 layers of foil. So you need your project to be very still and perfectly in place in between those rounds of stamping. If it moves a millimeter any direction, your stamping will be messed up. So this little arm right here enables me to really clamp down my project to my base plate and make sure that it doesn't move around. And what that also does is that one of the things that occurs when you stamp leather is that when you stamp, your stamp will stick to your project, and when you're stamped down and when you let up on the stamp, your project will lift off of the base plate. And that can cause your project to move around on, and mess up your stamping. So that little arm below there, it actually has a little foot right here that you can see. It keeps your project in place there. So the second thing I really like about this machine compared to others is just the stamping action of this machine is so precise. I did oil this machine right when I got it, but this machine, you can operate it with one finger, and I usually hold the handle about like this to do quick stamps, but the mechanism here is just very well engineered, buttery smooth, no wobble or anything like that. And this just is, you can tell this is a professional machine when you use it. The stamping action is so smooth and precise. And, often I'm doing really quick stamps on foil. So I'll just hit it once like that, and then I'll be good to go. So the action on this machine is just excellent. So the other thing I really like about this machine, and I think this will be maybe our final section for this video, is the fact that it has a removable type holder. So again, I don't use Kingsley brand type. I use an adapter. So I purchased this adapter from a guy called Leather Stamp Maker. He makes all different types of adapters for different stamping machines. And he was able to give me the precise size of this hole and the precise size of this hole to make sure that all of my stamps fit in this machine. So, I have a little screwdriver here. So how I go about, sorry, back to what I was saying. The nice thing about this stamp holder is that it's really quick to change out your stamps. So when I'm stamping covers, I'll usually have my machine on for hours. I'll be able to sit down and work on covers with some nice focus. I'll keep my machine on for a long time, and I will just be taking this out, putting my stamp in here, sliding it back in. This is a little shim to make it fit perfectly tight and snug, and I'll put it back in and wait until the stamp that I just changed heats up fully. So I'll be taking this out, changing my stamp, sliding it back in, waiting until it warms up, stamping, taking this out, changing my stamp, putting this back in, waiting until it warms up, and then just going through that. With my Zone Pack machine, it was very difficult and time consuming to change out the stamps. It involved, using an Allen key, unscrewing a hot Allen key, and there was no easy insulated handle that I could just grab and slide out. It was trying to finick with the stamp and unscrew it from there. But this system is so streamlined and easy to use. So I can show you a little bit about my different stamps here. So some rebinders, they prefer using Kingsley brand type, and I don't do that. I think my preference is doing it this way because it's inexpensive. So what I've got here is I have 3 different Holy Bible stamps here. All of my Holy Bible stamps are in Times New Roman, and all in caps. I have 3 sizes here, and this is what I use to stamp my Bibles. I was able to get these off of Etsy. The Etsy seller for these are in my materials list in the description. So I was able to purchase these for about $30 a piece. So for less than $100, not including the price that I need to pay for my adapter, I have the ability to stamp pretty much any size Bible that I could want. This is small enough for thin line Bibles. This is a really good size for maybe more personal size Bibles like the NASB Output that we just talked about. This is the stamp that I use for NASB large print compacts, and most thicker thin lines use this size. And this one I got for study Bibles. So this one is good for I did a gospel transformation study Bible last year that I used this stamp for. And I also did a Jeremiah study Bible that I used this stamp for. So I use pre-made stamps. And how these are attached is that they are just screwed into the adapter here. So I just pop these in like so. And obviously when I'm doing a bunch of covers, this whole thing is very, very hot, so I have to be very careful. But this just screws into this adapter like so. Just make sure it's nice and tight and straight. And this, slides in here. And you're off to the races. So This is the system that I use for stamping Bibles. It's, I think, a little bit more inexpensive than going with like a typeset, because those are hard to find and expensive. So often you'll see on eBay, I've seen Kingsley, Kingsley typesets that for a single font and text size, you're spending $100. So if I wanted to get the capability of having 3 different sizes of type, I would have to be shelling out, for $300 to $400 depending. So that's why I do this way. And then I have my logo as well, which, has a threaded hole in the back that screws into my type holder. And the way I do translation is that I got this off of Etsy as well. It's in my materials list. This is a movable typeset, and I just use one size for this. So you can see here I have every letter of the alphabet here to do my translations. This is ESV, and this has a threaded hole in the back that threads perfectly into my adapter here, and I'm able to do that. So to give you an idea of how much I spent on all of this, because if you're getting into Rebind, you need to factor in all of these things. So I'll go through. I want to be transparent about how much I spent on things, because I think that's important. So I'll just run through how much I spent to really invest in this, to give you an idea of like what's a good price. So again, I spent $150 on my Kingsley. It was listed 4 parts only. It was complete. It was a complete set, so it had the handle, factory handle, and all of that. I spent $150 on the Kingsley. I spent about $120 to replace the heating element and the power cable. So the power cable is like a modern standard. This is just a sewing light that helps me see my work. This is very optional. So that's, a little bit unimportant. I think these adapters are like $40 to $50. My letter set, I have one size of my leather set. It's a 65 piece, all caps, Times New Roman, 4 millimeters tall. I think I spent $80 or $90 on that. And then these Holy Bible stamps and so I have 3 Holy Bible stamps. Those are about $30 to $40 a piece. $30 a piece, and then my logo, which is about $30 a piece too. So all in all, I really think this is like the best pricing if you want to get into this as far as like a hobbyist goes. My letter set isn't the highest quality I've ever seen. These letters do wobble in this type holder a little bit, so maybe down the line I'll invest in like a nicer typeset, but I'm really happy with what this is able to do for me and do for my customers. And I'm really happy that I invested in a Kingsley. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions about Kingsley machines and like what is a good price, I'm not an expert, but I would love to help you out and give you some tips about purchasing a stamping machine if you're into that. So again, my name is Ethan from exfidebibles. Thank you for watching. And if you are a new rebinder, definitely subscribe, because I have a number of videos planned in the next couple months for a bunch of good content for you to learn how to rebind Bibles. I'm starting to do some more advanced, trying to do some like more advanced content on my YouTube here to hopefully help everyone out there. So I'm rambling. Thank you for watching. My name is Ethan from exfidebibles.